more people make than anything else? What? Yeah, just shout it out. To lose weight. It's to lose weight. Everybody, that's what they want. They want to lose weight. People want to lose weight and or exercise more, like the combination of those two. Gym memberships skyrocket first week of January or the end of December. Everyone's like, man, I ate like a pig from Thanksgiving through Christmas, and now it's time for me to stop eating like a pig and start working out. And so I'm buying a diet plan, and I'm going to work out, and I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to eat better, and everything else. And then everybody drops their gym memberships around February. They last a month, maybe two. Sometimes they last about 6 months because people forget. And then they're like, why am I still paying for this? I don't ever go. I haven't been there at all except for the day I signed up, and I didn't even work out that day. And so people just drop out. They don't do it. They don't stick with it. And so, making that, but it's hard to follow through with resolutions, right? With your New Year's resolutions. People do them all the time, every year. They talk about them on all the New Year's shows. Like, anybody going to watch any of those, like, you know, where you watch the party and then the ball drops and any of that? You guys going to watch that? So it's at like 10 o'clock our time that it drops in New York, right? And so they'll do that, and then 10 o'clock, and then you can all go to bed early because that's what you do, right? None of y'all, yeah, you're all going to be up to like 4. But so people make all sorts of resolutions, but one of the things I think they do that's the worst, that really messes with everything, is making a whole huge list of random stuff. But it's not that there's something wrong with wanting to do something new, because like, why do we do it? We don't do it just because we're like, I don't know, it's the thing you're supposed to do. Like, how many of you guys like have seen or have even said like, man, 2017 is almost over. And have you guys seen like people posting about like, oh, thank goodness, 2017, you have sucked, you have been terrible, I'm ready for you to end, let's go 2018, it's gonna be a new year, new stuff. Like, we really get into that new year idea, right? Like, it's gonna mess with us when we're writing stuff, because now you gotta remember to put 18 at the end of the date on your papers, right? Like when you're writing, and then you're gonna have like a whole bunch of scribble marks there from where your eraser doesn't work that well, and it just smears the pencil everywhere, and so you just have that dark streak at the end of the date every time until like next fall, and then you'll still do it until about November, and then finally when you got it down, you're like, man, I read an 8 like nobody's business, is 2019. You're like, come on. But so, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting a fresh start, a new start, a renewal. I mean, come on. We're in church. That's what this is about. Like, the whole thing is like God giving us new life. Like, this is a brand new thing that we got to do. We get to baptism, right? We put our old ways behind us and rise up to new life in Christ. It's a very Christian-themed thing to look at new beginnings and starting fresh and kind of hitting the reset button a little bit. And even we've got a verse. If you want a Bible, throw your hand up. You don't need to turn to this one. You'll want to open to Ephesians 4, but we're going to look at a verse real quick. Isaiah 43, verses 18 to 19, and it's, I was just wondering what the sound was, and it's my pocket. My phone is still playing the track from worship. That was exciting. I was going to be like, seriously, turn that off already. It's like distracting me, but it's me, so it's fine. I'm distracting me. That happens. All right, so if we look at Isaiah, where is it? Isaiah 43, 18 to 19, it says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Man, so if you're feeling like 2017 was a bit of a wasteland, a bit of a wilderness, a bit of a mess, like right here, like God is doing new things, and this is part of who God is. He is restoring to life things that are dead, including us and our lives and our passion and our faith. And so a new beginning, a new year, it doesn't have to be right at the new year, but while we're talking about it, this is a great time to figure out how we do a new thing, how we have a new start for 2018. And like I said with New Year's resolutions, one of the things that goes wrong for people is they try and do too much. They don't focus in on what they should be doing, and or on a narrow enough focus to actually accomplish their goals. But again, we want to be new. Ephesians 4, if you turn to Ephesians 4, did everyone, I saw a couple of hands go up. If you want a Bible, throw your hand up, and a Bible will show up in it. If you don't want a Bible, you should, because we don't have it on the screen. We just have it like this. Like, you can't read that. There's nothing there. You want to know where to go. So grab that. We're going to go to Ephesians 4, 22 to 24 real quick. And it says, you were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful outcomes, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. Man, to put off the old self, the corrupted, old, broken, ruined self, and be made new in the attitude of your minds. If I think of all the different ways that I do not live up to God's standard, I have like a list of about 1 million things. I have so much that needs to be put down so that I can be made like God, so that I can be made new, so I can be made like Jesus, and made new in Jesus. And there's a lot there. And so if I think of all the things that I need to work on, I have this huge list of stuff. And some people, is anybody in here like super achiever driven? Like you make a list and that motivates you. You're like, I have check boxes to do. I'm excited. I'm going to do these. Like some of you, okay, you're like that. Yeah. No, my wife's totally that way too. Like if she wants to get something done, she makes check boxes and she's like, I checked off a bunch of stuff. I feel like I really did a lot today. And I'm like, you're crazy. I make all sorts of checkbox lists and then I watch them rot because I don't ever check the box. I lose the paper. And so, yeah, so it's fine. It's other ways for people like us to accomplish stuff. But so it can feel like you have this huge list, but even for somebody who's motivated by that list of stuff to do, it can start feeling really overwhelming to think about all of those things to do. And they found out, like research people have studied productivity in workers and in businesses and companies and organizations. And what they found is that there is a limit to how many goals you can accomplish at once. So if you want to accomplish several goals, say you start small and you're like, you know what, I want to do like 3 things. Well, they found out that that's a good number. 1 to 3 goals is a great way to accomplish 1 to 3 goals. It's kind of like makes sense, right? You're like, I set 3 goals. How many did you accomplish? 3. Oh, yeah, right on. So you think about it and you're like, man, I got a lot to change. I'll make 10 goals. I will accomplish 10 things. Statistically, you know how it works out? You set between 4 and 10 goals. You know how many you end up finishing? 1 or 2. Not 10, not even 5. 1 or 2. The longer the list gets, the worse you get at it. If you go over 10, they found on average 11 or more goals on your list, you accomplish 0. You do absolutely nothing toward your goals if you have more than 10 on the list. It's so much, you just go, I can't even. On a scale of 1 to even, I can't. It doesn't work. So, people make all these lists, but there's this law of diminishing returns that means that if you try to do too much at once, you won't accomplish it. But we have this inspiration even from Scripture. We have this call. We have this feeling like, man, like 2017 sucked in a lot of ways. I need to do better this year. I was not that great, and I know I'm still not perfect. Like I still got some. Like I ate really well. I did like this cleanse thing this year, and I lost some weight, but I still need to lose some more. And so like I'm still not like in shape. I went hiking with my kids, and I was like, okay, that was cool. I'm like, okay, now we're to the trailhead. We just walked up out of the parking lot. Like, oh gosh, I'm gonna die. But it was amazing. Like I got to see some incredible stuff. We went to Lake Tahoe and it was gorgeous. And we hiked like almost 4 miles up and down, and went up and down. I think we had like almost 500 feet elevation change, which is kind of a lot. And the elevation there at the low end is 6,200 feet elevation. So the air's thin and it's cold. And so it burns your lungs when you breathe it. And then when you're breathing hard like me, it really burns your lungs. And so I need to get more in shape. But if I say like, man, okay, I'm going to set like 3 workout goals and 3 of these goals, and then I'm going to read my Bible more. I'm going to make sure I pray more. I'm going to make sure I get up on time when my alarm goes off. I'm going to make sure that I keep my room clean. I'm going to clean my office and keep it that way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to answer every email or address it in some way the moment it comes in, or 3 times a day, so that I don't fall behind on emails. I'm going to do all of this follow-up stuff. Like, I'm not even beginning to scratch the surface on the junk I got to do, but I've already got like 10 things I just said. It's never going to happen if I try to do all of that. Focus is a powerful, powerful thing. Focusing on 1 to 3 goals, but focusing on just one thing to start with, just focusing in. It's powerful. It's that way not just in the way that we do goals. I mean, it works that way. The statistics have proved it. Research has shown clearly that there's a direct correlation between you set too many goals, you can't accomplish them. But it works in a lot of ththings. How many of you have ever gotten a sunburn? Because we live in Arizona, which apparently is closer to the sun than any other part of the universe. It's hot here. Except for Phoenix. Phoenix is made of nothing but asphalt, and it's closer to the sun, so it's worse. But it's melty. But how many of you have ever seen the sidewalk catch on fire? Yeah, it doesn't happen. The sun's hot, but it's not that hot. However, anybody ever take a magnifying glass and melt your little army men or something, or your My Little Ponies or ants or something? Don't melt ants. That's possibly cruel. I don't know. I don't think they have feelings. But anyway, you probably shouldn't. PETA will boycott us or something. Not that they come here or watch this, but it's fine. Magnifying glass focuses the heat, right? You focus the light in, and you can set paper on fire. You can start a fire. You can do all sorts of things like that. What's a hyper-focused light? Laser, right? Lasers, they use those to cut things and do surgery and have space wizard battles of awesomeness, right? Because lightsabers. Okay, Star Wars, people, come on. Star Wars. The new one's great. Last Jedi, so good. Okay, I'm a Star Wars nerd, so I like it. But so, no, they weren't. No. You're missing the point. Okay, so focusing on one thing, and not just a resolution like I'm going to lose some weight, or I'm going to finish all my homework before I turn on video games, or I'm going to, all the guys are like, oh, no, don't say that. My mom might hear you. All right. But this idea of focusing of one thing actually is also scriptural. If you still have Ephesians open, look at the beginning of Ephesians, Ephesians 4, verses 1 through 6. Sorry, the beginning of the chapter we were in. Paul says this: as a prisoner for the Lord then, which he's writing this from prison, which is exciting. As a prisoner for the Lord, then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called. There's one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. One. There's one God, there's one faith, there's one baptism. We are part of one body. In other letters, Paul explains about the body thing, and he talks about how each part of the body is not every part of the body. Nobody is a hand, eye, foot, nose. Some people are a hand, some people are a foot, some people are a vertebrae, I don't know. Some people are a spleen. I don't know what a spleen does, and you don't know what you do, but that's fine. You're here, and it's great. You're important. Every part of the body has a particular function that it needs to accomplish. But it's got one thing it's really great at, and that's what makes it beneficial to the body. What if you lived a life worthy of the calling you've received? How would you start on that? What is the calling? In the Bible, in Matthew 22, the greatest commandments are love God with everything, heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. You got to love people. Maybe that's where you need to start. Maybe that's the part of the calling that you haven't even begun to scratch yet. Maybe it's something else. But the calling you have received as a Christian, if you believe in Jesus as Lord, then there's a call to be part of his body, whether it's an eye, a foot, a nose, a tongue, I don't know. It's weird. Don't go around like licking stuff. That's not what we mean. But what's your calling? What's your role? What's the thing? What's the way that God would use you if you focused on one thing this year? So we have this thing here. I'm going to run off screen for a second, and then I'll be back. So, ta-da. Okay. So we have these cards, and they're doing this over there today as well. One word. What's one word to represent what God is calling you to? Now, hang on. Don't just grab a card and write some random nonsense on it. We got a little bit of time here. We're going to take some time to pray. We're going to take communion. We're going to worship. We got about 20 minutes left. We're going to put a big canvas up front here on the front of the stage. And it says, just like these cards, it says hashtag one word. So again, those of you on social media, you can post this. Tag Pantano or just put that hashtag on it. One word. What's one word to represent what God is calling you to? And so we're going to take some time. We're just going to have a little bit of music playing, a little bit of just quiet reflection, prayer time for you to ask God, okay, what's the calling I've received and how do I live a life worthy of that? I don't have mine yet. I'm going to take some time to pray and think about this too. Last year, mine was reliance. Just to give you an example. I know some people, it was hope or purity. It was read or listen. Mine was reliance, which was fitting. Last year, I was 2 months into this job, and I was hired to do middle school. I ended up leading all of students. I had to rely on God a lot, and at this time of year, our admin had just quit, and we hadn't found Jess yet. So we were short 2 staff members in student ministry. I had a lot to rely on God for, but all this year, that has been, if you ever come into my office, it's on my board. There's a card like this that says reliance on it. And it's been there to remind me, hey, am I doing stuff in my strength or in God's strength? And that has helped me focus a lot of what I'm doing back to him and make sure I'm relying on him, not me. So we're gonna dim the lights a little bit. We're gonna have a stack of these cards over on the side. There's some Sharpies, and we're gonna have this. And so as you guys pray about it, we're gonna give you a chance to come up and write it here as well. And we're gonna figure out a way to display. Turned off my own microphone. Sorry. I was holding it by the button. Don't do that. But so we're going to give you a chance to write that there, and then we're going to do a little more to it, and then we'll put it up so that we can see it, so that we can remember. And it won't say like your name next to it, but just when you have your word, write it on here, write it on the card, and hang on to it. And we want to give you a chance to do this and to be reminded to remember what it is that God is calling you. What is the thing that He is asking you to do to live live a life worthy of the calling you've received? Once you have your word, I want to do things a little backwards today. So we're going to do worship. You don't have to sing along. You don't have to jump right in and stand up and clap or anything. We have some kind of different-ish songs to do at the end here. But I want to ask you guys to sit and pray and take some time, grab a card, write it down, write it on here, and then take communion and consecrate that word. That means give it to the Lord. Make it holy. Set it apart. Make it a promise. to God. I'm going to do this. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to live with this in mind, that this word is something you're calling me to. You don't have to come up with it now if we're getting to the end and you feel like I don't have anything to write just yet. That's cool. We'll hang on to this for a couple weeks. You can come back and write it later too. But what's one thing God's calling you to do different or to focus on this year? One word to represent your walk with him and your duty for the kingdom this year. All right, we're going to put that on. We'll see if this works. There it is. God, speak to us. Call us. Show us how you want us to follow you, to praise you, to live for you this year.